Are you ready for some smart, plain talk on politics, Israel, and the law? It's the Andrew Parker Show. Let's roll. Welcome to another episode of the Andrew Parker Show. I believe this is, it's got to be episode 495 as we march toward 500 episodes, and we mark 10 years ago this month was the beginning of our work on radio and podcast. August of 2016. Yes, indeed. And shortly after we opened the show, we were live at the Minnesota State Fair, broadcasting. Back then, it was the Parker Rosen Hour, as Dan Rosen and I took to the airwaves on 1280 AM, The Patriot. Those were great times. And since then, a lot has happened. The world has changed quite a bit in the last 10 years, since 2016. You remember 2016, Donald J. Trump was triumphant and became President of the United States January 2017. But boy, just a few months after we launched was the election of 2016 that really did change the world, and it ushered in a lot of good things, no doubt. But a lot of very difficult things, not least of which is Trump derangement syndrome that has so greatly affected, infected the human mind of some, that it has apparently resulted in the destruction of the Democratic Party as we knew it. It is still called the Democratic Party, but it is different from anything that we've known in the past. Now, many people would say the Republican Party is different as well. MAGA is not what the Republicans were or have ever been. Yes, but MAGA is within the boundaries of what a political party might do and maintain constitutional foundations and maintain a moral compass. Yeah, you might disagree with policies of MAGA, for sure. And some might say that it's not moral at all. ICE, for example, is not moral at all, and it's a MAGA concept to send stormtroopers in the streets to pick people up in the darkness of night, never to be seen again, sent to the archipelago. Of course, if that happened, that would be the case, Nazi-like conduct. But that isn't what happens. Now, sometimes, either through ill training or just malevolence, you have ICE officers who violate or break the law. Just like police officers can do, just like those in the military might do, just as politicians might do, just as business owners might do. And what we have for that is a justice system that deals with it and takes care of it. But to say ICE should be abolished because of some bad conduct that is cited is, of course, a political statement, and it's a Trump derangement statement, I would argue. I refer you to the Super Lawyers magazine. Comes out every year. And I'll digress for a moment and say to you that, yes, for whatever reason, I have been named a super lawyer now for, 28 straight years. And this magazine comes out in August every year, identifying the top 5%. At least here in Minnesota, it's the top 5% of lawyers, according to a formula that they claim to use. I've never paid all that much attention to it. I've never lobbied or sought votes for it. And frankly, I don't understand how one is listed as such. But the reason I bring this to your attention, slipping back from the digression into the purpose of me raising it, is the headline of this magazine is Path of Resistance: How Local Attorneys Fought Unprecedented Attacks on the Rule of Law. I mean, this is a magazine that is attacking Donald Trump, claiming unprecedented attacks on the rule of law and centered around ICE and immigration attacks. Now, remember, there are federal laws on the books regarding immigration that are being enforced by this agency of the federal government. And they are being directed to be enforced by the executive branch, which is what the executive branch does. They enforce the laws that are adopted by the legislative branch and signed into law. That is what ICE is doing, is they are enforcing those democratically enacted laws. People are voted on, they become representatives. There are 535 in the Senate and the House, and they adopt and enact laws that are signed by the president. And there are these laws related to immigration and illegal immigration and what happens when there's illegal immigration. But also there are many other criminal laws that are being enforced by the executive branch. Now, the fact that certain cities around the country and certain states around the country don't like those laws and therefore refuse to assist in enforcing those laws may well be acceptable. They can refuse to assist, even though they should, in working with the federal government to enforce the democratically enacted laws. But they're doing more than that. They are not just refusing to assist, they are resisting and supporting the resistance of enforcement of the law. So who is it that is attacking the rule of law? I need to understand it. Maybe I'm not thinking about this correctly. I talk to my liberal friends. They can't answer this line of argument, or I wouldn't even call it argument, description. And I want them to answer it. How is it that it's an unprecedented attack on the rule of law? It isn't, but these sanctuary cities and sanctuary states, that is an attack on the rule of law, because democratically elected laws regarding immigration are to be followed until they are changed through the democratic process. And by the way, they may be changed before we know it. Why? Because of the avalanche into the Democratic Party of those who want open borders. But at this point, it has not yet been changed. And so it is not ICE that is the attack on the rule of law. It is those that are resisting the rule of law because they don't want to follow it. They don't like that legislation. Well, then go to the ballot box, get Congress changed, get Congress to rescind those laws and enact new ones. And then you won't have to resist because the federal government won't have those laws to enforce. But until then, it is the sanctuary cities and states that are engaged in ignoring, worse yet, unprecedented attacks, quote unquote, on the rule of law. And these politicians in these sanctuary cities and states are churning the pot, stirring it up to get people out there to violate the law, to interfere with law enforcement, which is a violation of the law, obstruction of the law. They're not just stirring the pot, they're encouraging it openly. Some are even engaging in it themselves, claiming that they are defending the rule of law. That's bunk. I need an explanation as to how they are doing that. Because we have a rule of law when ICE steps over the line, and that will take its course. Even if someone who is believed to be obstructing justice and in self-defense, they're shot. Whoever shot them needs to have a basis for it under the law. It was either proper or improper, and if it was improper, they may go to prison. Derek Chauvin in the George Floyd case, he's in prison. That's how we deal with it. We don't burn down $1 billion of private property or a police precinct where the politicians are encouraging the riots. That's an unprecedented attack on the rule of law. But no, here we have in the Super Lawyers article the great work that lawyers are doing to end enforcement of the rule of law, bypassing the democratic process, bypassing the need to elect senators and representatives who will change the law, and just ignoring it and changing it yourself, rewriting it yourself. So, that's where the Democratic Party is in part. In additional part, they have taken on the Islamists, and separately, but could be the same people, the communists, as has been reported, within their tent. They've taken them on, and they have protected and supported and fully gone out and spent millions upon millions and hours upon hours of time to get elected, self-described sometimes not, but whether it is or not, holding the same positions as communists or holding the same positions as socialists and supporting it and getting people to support it and to be a part of their big tent. And worse yet, in my judgment, Islamists. Those who support change to Sharia law. Those who wish ill to Jewish Americans. Those who oppose the state of Israel and its existence. Those who wish to destroy the state of Israel, economically and then physically. And the message that sends to our enemies, to the U.S. enemies, to Israeli enemies, to the enemies of the Jewish people, is loud and clear, and it is dangerous, enormously dangerous. Jewish blood has already run the street, and it has been cheered, and it has been supported by who the Democratic Party now supports. Hassan Piker, Abdul El Sayed, Zoran Mandani, leaders of the Democratic Party. This isn't just, well, they snuck you into the big tent, so we're allowing them to stay. No, they're leaders in the Democratic Party. And I've been talking about this for years, that the Democratic Party is not paying attention to the spreading disease within the party, because that's what it is. It is not grounded in the U.S. Constitution. Of course, they say that the Republicans are not grounded. This is not a Democrat-Republican battle. I'm talking about the Democratic Party. You may disagree with Republican policies, conservative policies. You may think they're horrific. You may even think they're immoral. And, of course, you spew the hue and cry that they're unconstitutional and fascist, Hitler-like. It doesn't make it so. And any honest descriptor would not say such. But to say that regarding the Democratic Party has support. A record of success second to none. Parker Daniels Keyboard Law Firm, the numbers tell the story. The last 5 cases our lawyers have brought to trial have resulted in million and multi-million-dollar verdicts for our plaintiff clients and 0 defense verdicts for our defense clients. Put simply, we try cases and we win cases. Hi, I'm Andrew Parker. At Parker Daniels Keyboard, we take our work personally and we go the extra mile. That is why some of the biggest law firms, locally and nationally, send cases to us to handle when they can't. If you have a challenging and critically important business or personal legal dispute that must be favorably resolved, whether regarding a contract matter, a business divorce, a real estate dispute, an employment dispute, a civil rights or defamation matter, plain talk, if it's a big deal, contact us at Parker Daniels Keyboard. Wise counsel, winning results. Go to parkerdk.com. Unquestionable support. AIPAC is being attacked repeatedly. What is AIPAC? AIPAC are people, Jewish and non-Jewish, mostly Jewish, but Jewish and non-Jewish, who support the U.S. Israel relationship because it is strategically beneficial to the United States of America. And because it is grounded, the state of Israel is grounded in the same fundamental values as the United States of America. And what is wrong with supporting that? There isn't anything other than Israel is a Jewish state. And therefore, it shouldn't be allowed. Any other country it could be allowed, but not Israel. And that is anti-Semitic. Calling for the destruction of the Jewish state because of actions of the state of Israel in defending itself against the most horrific attacks since the Holocaust, the atrocities of October 7th, is anti-Semitic in and of itself, without mentioning October 7th, without talking at all about Hamas and Hezbollah and the attacks on civilians and the use of human shields, without talking about the amount of support, both man-hours as well as funds, dollars, other monies, in support of the Palestinian people throughout the years, even during a time when they are attacking Israeli civilians. All of that is ignored as the Islamists are on a march, and don't fall asleep, because they're not. They play the long game, the long, long game. with the Muslim Brotherhood at the helm. And by the way, I'll digress a second as well. The Muslim Brotherhood, the United States Senate had hearings about the Muslim Brotherhood in the United States and the terrorist nature of the movement, a movement that has been around for many, many, many decades and plays the long game and inserts themselves surreptitiously into the body politic of the country in which they are by using the laws of that country against that country, the freedoms of that country against that country. And the hearings on the Muslim Brotherhood and their insidious connection and spread into the body politic of the United States is what the Senate was looking into. And the Democrats walked out. They refused to be a part of it, as if the Muslim Brotherhood is some philanthropic organization. It is one of the most vicious anti-West, anti-United States, anti-Israel, racist organizations anywhere, and has been for many, many decades. The Democrats walk out, which is a statement in support of the Muslim Brotherhood. They'll say it isn't, but that's how it will be viewed, and it has been viewed. We have now reached the point where I can say, and I have not up until now, although over the last several years I have said it's coming. It is now here. The dam has broken, and the water is flooding in, destroying everything in its path. And that dam that was holding it back has now been breached. Haley Stevens loses by a little bit. It's now been breached. For someone, Abdul El-Sayed, to win based on the open statements of anti-Semitism that he has made repeatedly is unconscionable, and it is a watershed moment in our politics. Mark it. You didn't want to mark it when Bernie Sanders was openly anti-Israel, and when AOC and her clan won in 2018. And over the next several years, the clan grew, and they openly, without reservation, made statements that just a few years ago would be viewed by anyone of reasonable morality and moral understanding would see is so offensive and so racist. But they make the statements openly. It became normalized. And now it's here. And there are going to be members of the Senate, many, many more members of the House. They're going to change our system the way we know it, as we know it. It will be unrecognizable, and there will be no turning back. And they have launched and breached the dam because they know they have the cavalry in support of them. And when I say cavalry, I'm talking about the youth of this country. I'm talking about those in colleges and universities across the country today and were just over the last few years in college, being taught by professors who have normalized Jew hatred, Israel hatred, America hatred, Constitution hatred, not using those words, but claiming the other side is unconstitutional, and rewriting and rereading, rewriting the Constitution in a way that it is incomprehensible how it could be taught. I mean, look at what they're calling for, these Islamists. The destruction, elimination of the U.S. Senate. The elimination of the presidency as we know it. Control by the House of Representatives of the court system. That Politburo, which it will become, will be markedly similar to the communist movements and control of everything. Freedoms will be removed according to the platform. Some say, well, I don't agree with everything in the platform. No. They're in the tent. And so when it becomes large enough, they'll all agree. And then the change will be here. So that's the danger. It's significant. It's real. The water is flooding in. It may be that it cannot be stopped. And again, they're playing the long game. And it all is within the Democratic Party. I say to my Jewish friends in particular, many, 75% now, who continue to vote Democrat, you simply can't anymore. And all the excuses and rationalizations which have occurred over the last many years, as I said, Bernie Sanders to AOC and her gang in 2018, to it growing over the last several years, and now in the last couple normalizing language and policies that would never even be thought of, supporting and cheering on Hamas, deciding that when asked the question, do you support Israel or Hamas, why is the question even being asked? It is outrageous that the question is even being asked. It's despicable. It's disgusting. You know, do you support the freedom fighters in Germany in World War II or the Nazis? I mean, that's the kind of question that it is. And that is not a far-fetched analogy. That's real. Hamas putting their kids out in front as human shields. Hamas attacking viciously with atrocities you can't even watch on video, and they video it with great exuberance. And then you have the government and the state of Israel having to defend its people and taking action in war brought to them that they did not want, and defending their people ferociously, which any country would do. There are deaths when war occurs. All of those deaths are at the feet of Hamas and the Islamists, all of them. As Israel carried out the war in the most humanitarian way of urban warfare that could possibly happen. That doesn't mean it didn't result in casualties. It certainly did. And it's horrific that there was even one. But this was a just war every step of the way. And the Jewish hatred of lying about genocide, and even about occupation, is done and over, and Israel is not going to rely on others to defend them. But to say, well, who do you support, Israel or Hamas? I mean, to even ask the question is disgusting. But then to get the answer within the Democratic Party, Hamas, and to have Democrats elect people that say Hamas is beyond the pale. And any Jewish voter who goes out and supports a party that stands for that. Now, you're going to say, it's a small little group. And that's what was said for a long time. It is no longer a small little group because the quote-unquote moderates, and they're not moderate, but the moderates in the Democratic Party, they are not speaking out. The only one who is John Fetterman, and he's getting annihilated because of it. So none of the others are. You hear Amy Klobuchar speaking out? No. All of her Jewish friends, we're going to vote for Amy. And she's got a ton of Jewish friends. She's been a part of the Jewish community, but she's not speaking out. And she has a voice. Why? Because her political career would be over. Why? Because that's how powerful the Islamists, the Hamas supporters, the Abdul el-Sayeds, the AOCs, the Zoran Mandanis, the Hassan Pikers are within the Democratic Party. It's insane. There used to be a communist party. There isn't anymore. It's within the Democratic Party. I don't think there ever was an Islamist party, but now that's within the Democratic Party. It's horrific. And the reality is, it's here. It's not coming, it's here. Open your eyes. Change has to occur by those of sound moral clarity. We need to fight back. Our enemies are buoyed by what has happened in recent elections over the last few days and weeks. They feel like they're on their way, and the number of candidates that they're going to run to take over the United States of America through the Democratic Party is going to be overwhelming. At this point, it's 250 candidates. It's going to be 500 the next time you look. And by the way, the Islamists around the world, they're going to funnel money here because they now have a shot. And boy, is it going to be ugly when that happens. Thank you for listening. Tell your friends. We've got to fight back. And for your neighbor of sound moral clarity, whether they're a Democrat who's fighting back, or like a John Fetterman, or a Republican, either way, be kind to your neighbor. For more Smart Plain Talk, go to theandrewparkershow.com. Learn about all of your listening and viewing options. And remember, all the great things are simple, and many can be expressed in a single word: freedom, justice, honor, duty, mercy, hope. This episode of The Andrew Parker Show is sponsored by Parker Daniels Keyboard.
Did your employer make you sign a promissory note when joining the company, and now you want to leave, but you're afraid your firm will pursue you personally for that debt? This is Jesse Keyboard from the law firm Parker Daniels Keyboard. I recently represented a client who had signed such a note, and I was able to get them out of their $500,000 debt to their company, which allowed them the freedom to exit a bad employment situation and enter a much better one. Meeting our clients' objectives is our focus at Parker Daniels Keyboard, and in this regard, we win. Our experienced trial team of lawyers at Parker Daniels Keyboard have secured major victories in state and federal courts across the country and through arbitration. We have the legal expertise in all types of business disputes, labor and employment matters, real estate matters, shareholder disputes, financial transactions, security issues, and appeals. For wise counsel, winning results, contact us at Parker Daniels Keyboard, a premier litigation law firm that provides efficient, aggressive, and innovative solutions to complex legal problems. Wise counsel, winning results. Go to parkerdk.com.